What kind of elk attacks people? Aren't they supposed to be peaceful to humans? Like seriously, I've never heard of an elk attacking anything before. Maybe defending itself against a bear, or two elks fighting to attract a mate. But an elk attacking a runner seems to have never happened, ever, Trace said as the stomped on fresh snow-white powder. It's unlikely, but the elk punctured and ripped his stomach open. Jameson was nearly dead when those other hikers found him. Had to pump him with every drug from the hospital to get him back to stable condition, and they are not even sure if he will stay there. Can't even begin to imagine his hospital bill when he finally gets out. Might not even be worth it. Dip responded to him, now bringing up his flashlight toward the tops of tree branches, flashing an owl which flew away from the sudden light, causing a light dusting to fall down on top of them. Rude. So the captain just wants us to kill this thing then? Do we do this every time there's a wild animal attack? Trey asked Dip. Well, most of the time. I think with how bizarre this case is, and the fact that the women who got slashed and killed while on a hike had a similar story to Jameson, the chief just wants the public to see this monster killed. Dip responded to him. Do you really think an elk killed that woman? Trey questioned. No. Dip chuckled at even the thought of it. But blaming it on an animal ends the case quickly. Plus, I am not turning down an order from a chief. With the amount of layoffs going on, I could see the police force following suit, and then finding a job in this market might be a nightmare. Dip added to his original comment, then feeling the cold winter breeze strike across his body. Crazy how a week ago it was nearly 60 degrees. Now we got 5 inches of snow to maneuver and 20-degree weather to deal with. Dip went complaining. So chondrin? It sounds like a bird species. The chondrin bird of South America gets hunted by an anaconda. Will said, interrupting Dip, the third time it had happened since he started, but made it feel like he was doing it all the time. I looked over at Dip, an annoyed expression with his eyes squinted at Will, who he could barely see in the dimly lit room. Myself giving him the same expression. Yup, Dip Chondrin, that is my new legal name. Dip said to him, then continuing his story. We kept. So why did you pick Chondrin? Will said, interrupting again, a small quench in Dip's fist making his emotion toward my brother very clear. Chondrin, Oregon is where I met my wife. It was the summer of '98, beautiful time to meet someone at a winery. I remember it vividly, eating grapes that tasted of cotton candy as we sipped wine, watching the sun till it went down over the ocean in the far distance. Satisfied? Dip said, then abruptly ending his words. That's really nice, Dip, I added. Did you ever get to say goodbye before Perry took us? No, I didn't, Nick. She died a couple years ago. Car accident. One I hope to believe she didn't suffer. Dip responded to my question. Oh, I'm sorry, I said to him, unsure of what to say next, dearly hoping Dip would continue his story of how he met Alos, and that Nick would stop with any of his annoying interruptions. A few seconds passed before Dip said another word. Sorry if that was a little morbid. I don't talk about her much. Why I never mentioned anything to you the past 2 years. But with us technically dying together and being transported across the country by an alien, I suppose we form a bond stronger than most people I spend time with previously, Dip added. I smiled to him, hoping he saw it, but with the amount of light the single light bulb let out, it was a coin flip of a chance. That goes for you too, Will, even if you do annoy me sometimes, Dip said to him. So do we get to pick our name out as well? Will asked, myself sighing as he didn't even understand the social etiquette and respect he should be showing to Dip for what he just said. Yes, I am working with someone in Minnesota to get documents and drop them off to me. They are creating new birth certificates, social security, and a bunch of other legalized documents for you two, and soon you will be able to pick your own names. Dip responded to him. Smobb, Will said. My name is going to be Rob Smobb, he then exclaimed. Who? Dip started to say. You can't be a comic book character, Will. That sounds stupid. 100% the government will know that's a made-up name. I said to him. Who the hell is Rob Smobb? Dip asked the group. He's from a comic book series called Runaway. The creator, Zack something something, made it, and it includes a bunch of runaway superheroes being hunted for their powers but still make time to save people. And Rob Smobb is one of these characters. I explained to Dip. The confusion of what even a comic book was probably being a valid question, let alone an entire series, might be too much for Dip to understand. No. Well, you can't be Rob Smobb. I say, use your first name, then pick a random last name. And make sure Nick agrees with it. You two are brothers. We'll act like brothers. Might as well keep the last name the same between you two. Dip said to both of us. Okay, Will and Nick Smobb then. Will said out loud. I say give it some time to think. This is permanent, not like the video games or whatever you do on your computers. You can't restart or redo. Your name is my point. Now let's get back to story time. Dip said, continuing. We walked deeper and deeper into the woods, with most of the vegetation below our feet dead, making a satisfying crumbling sound as our feet pressed against it. We then came across them. My first instinct being wolf imprints, seeing the 3 imprinted toe prints, and then the larger heel pushed down into the snow. But as I stared, I realized it was something else. And the size alone would have given that away, as my palm print was dwarfed by the animal print, and 4 long indents, which I assumed were claws, stretched for nearly the length of a pencil, even coming to a fine point at end, as if the wood shavings were freshly cut. I looked upon the path from which these prints were laid out, curving along a road of trees. These are bigger than bear, a decent size bigger. Trey said to me as I jotted down the rough outline of these prints. Let's follow them, but keep your gun ready, safety off. I said to him, knowing that whatever had created these prints were nearby. We started to walk alongside the tracks, as if they were a river and we were searching for the inevitably lake it would lead to. Eventually, the tracks started to overlap themselves. The cut-open deer carcass situated against the tree with most of the intestines spilling out being the reason. I knelt down next to the deer, the insides free of any rotting and barely any smell. I then checked the blood that had dripped down from its body, still on the first layer of snow, barely soaked in. This is fresh. Must have only died 12 to 18 hours ago. Trey said, myself remembering Trey had grown up hunting with his dad, so knowing how fresh a deer corpse was something familiar with him. Well, let's find out what killed Bambi, I said, now moving against the tracks which had straightened out again, moving 30 feet away and knowing Trey was running toward me to catch up. I then could hear it, a faint crunch of vegetation from behind, impossible to be from Trey, who stood directly behind me. My heart dropped, knowing something was there. I turned around, seeing something I'd never seen before. So why would Aloes leave with Perry? Will said, interrupting for the 10th time today. My God, Will, just shut up and let Dip finish the story. I said to him. What, it's fine. Not like we have anything else better to do than to talk. IDK, Dip, do you need to leave within the next 5 hours? Is me taking a 5-minute break from a story that big of a deal? Will asked. You're a jackass, I said to him. Yeah, sure, I'm a jackass for making a valid point. Why the hell did Aloes leave with Perry? Did they have a close friendship from the 20-minute they knew each other that I didn't see while with both of them? Sure, they kind of saved the world together. We all did. But that doesn't make someone drop everything to leave, right? Will stated, firming his stance. Aloes didn't drop anything, though, Dip said. He had us, though. That's something. Will rebutted to him. Aloes didn't have much of anything, and he sure wasn't great with personal connections. Ever since I knew him, he talked as if Earth and this parallel universe, from how he described it and where you came from, as if it was just a place that he was at, not connecting with anything around him. Like he was on vacation to a place knowing that once he left he would never return. Always made fun of the planets too, talking about the weather always being bad, or the fact that nothing on Earth was attractive enough for him to have sex with it. Yeah, but me. Will said faintly, realizing he might not have meant as much to Alos as he once thought he had. Dip comforted Will, saying, I'm sorry, Will. I don't think much would have made Alos stay. Now I turned around, seeing the white glowing eyes and the small chimp size and frame of the being looking over at us. That's when I first met Alos. The little creature stayed still, frozen in front of the deer me and Trey had already passed, myself not feeling much of a threat since I could tell that the being was barely taller than my kneecap. Trey, however, had pulled his gun out of his holster, now aiming it at the creature but in a ready position, straight-armed on his hip. We were taught in the academy to do this to show intimidation to any threat, also beneficial since it was the fastest movement to a shot-ready stance. We slowly approached the creature, the white eyes seemingly getting dimmer as we approached, maybe a way that it focused on us. I'm not a threat, we heard the creature say as we approached within 10 feet. I could get a better view. The creature had short black fur like a well-groomed dog, with some muscle tone on its body visible against the flashes of light that reflected from the snow onto the being. Who are you? I stated to the creature. Please just let me go. It's my first time here on this planet. Please have mercy. The creature continued to beg toward me and Trey. Trey now put his gun back into the holster, apparently convinced this creature was no longer a threat, myself having my own suspicions. Do you know where you come from? Do you have parents? Trey questioned, myself wanting to ask him if he truly believed this X-File monster could be just a child in a costume in 40-degree weather. Gallon sent me. He told me to find a Wendigo. The being stuttered. A what? I asked. A Wendigo. The being repeated. It's what came to your world, has giant antlers on top of its head. Did that. It finished, now pointing to the deer carcass. We've been tracking a Wendigo, says an alien creature. Normal day in the office. I say out loud, Trey looking as astonished as ever. So what are you guys going to do to me? If I don't find the Wendigo, Gallon is 100% going to kill me. The creature went on, a shortness of breath between words. If it was human, that would be signs of a pre-panic attack. You're going to be fine. My name is Dip. This is my partner, Trey. I say to it, a brief introduction to hopefully calm the little guy's nerves. Alos, the being said back, then looking down at the trail, seeing the footsteps. I followed his eyes, stating, we can follow the trail, unless you have a better idea of how to get to your Wendigo. Alos shook his head. I like your way. Following behind me, who started to lead, Trey in the back of the pack. We walked for some time, enough silence from the quiet dead of winter forest to ask Alos, so what exactly is this world that you and this Wendigo came from? Alos looked back, responding, a sort of parallel universe. Not exactly sure of the why or how, just that it's a rare case among planets. I think it has something to do with a black hole opening, creating two instances of what it swallows. Your reality and my reality. Then you have beings that can create tunnels or portals in between these worlds. It finished. What kind of beings can make these portals? I asked the being. Mostly those of Indian descent. The main one I work with is the Ponca tribe. I know they reside here, reside near the same location in the alternate world as well. It replied back. Trey made a statement. The Ponca tribe. That's the tribe. That warned us about the deer. They know what this thing is. I interrupted him. I pondered about if I could truly be mad at them. Had they betrayed me or did their best at warning me without revealing what might possibly be the biggest scientific discovery of all time? My mind quickly stopped processing that thought, now noticing a raw, strong odor in the air. It smelled awful, like the deer corpse, but 1,000 times worse, as if it had been rotted for days while being burned on the side of a road non-stop. Maybe a skunk pissed on it too. Maybe that might be too much. We then came across the source of the stench. An animal, mostly a deer shape, with long antlers that I can almost guarantee were longer than my wingspan, and a wolf snout with some teeth showing. I chilled just looking at it. If I was thinking Alos was a monster when I first saw it, then this thing would be a king of them. I looked again at its body, the length nearly being the same height of some young adult trees that were erect, the skin tight showing the bones and dense muscles on the creature. "What the hell do we do?" I said to the group. Everyone stood in silence, maybe taking a second by looking at this freak of nature, maybe too scared to awake it. "I can shoot it. A bullet in its head should kill it," I asked, looking down at Alos to see if there were any arguments on his end. There were. "This thing is powerful. Your weapons on Earth, I have heard, are weak, at least to the beings from my world. I should call my boss." It finished. I shook my head, debating in my head if I should listen to the creature or just deep fire into the thing. My answer leaning more to shooting as every second passed, but another being making up its own decision of what to do. "Gallon. Gallon, I found it," Alos exclaimed in the woods. "What are you doing? You're going to wake the damn thing." I spouted to Alos, pushing him and causing him to fall in the snow. I then looked up, my biggest fear becoming a reality. The eyes of the creature, Wendigo, looked deep into me. I could feel my spirit inside be depleted of any hope of my survival. The only strength, I'd raised my pistol and pulling the trigger. 1 shot, 2 shot, 3 shots, each one, and I know this for a fact, striking the creature. I exhaled in horror, the bullets taking nearly no effect as the creature opened its mouth, myself now seeing the second row of razor-sharp teeth in its mouth. "Run! Run!" I exclaimed, grabbing Trey and pulling him away, leaving Alos on the ground. We ran nearly 200 yards, the earth still silent, no screams behind us of Alos being ripped together by the boogeyman's pet. We looked back and searched for his body, which was now gone from where it had laid, the Wendigo gone as well. Have they teamed up? A thought to myself, feeling isolated and vulnerable in the woods. A swoosh then came through the woods ahead of me and Trey. I looked forward, seeing the gigantic but majestical frame of the Wendigo prance through the trees, its shoulder grazing underneath the bottom of leaves. It was chasing something, Alos. We started to trail behind the creature, looking back a stupid decision, but in the time to discover a great scientific discovery, it was 100% worth it. We followed until we saw the Wendigo flipped, its legs tied together by a white sandy rope as if it was a pig waiting to be burned under an open flame. The legs then slowly started to separate outward, rope surrounding each end of the leg as it extended, more and more until the Wendigo screeched. I clamped my hands over my ears, mimicking earmuffs, but still hearing the pain-filled shrieks of the creature as if it was a bear just caught in a trap. The screeching then turned to a sharp rip, the flesh of the body and legs separating, and the loud thump of the Wendigo landing on its back without any appendages horrified me. "What witchcraft has been done?" Trey asked me. I moved in closer. Another dumb decision, but one I justified for the discovery of science, ignoring whatever Trey asked me. Myself only focused on what had ripped the legs off that animal. We approached the animal, a small portal opening in front of it, and the familiar vines reappeared, wrapping the body and pushing it through. "You need to leave." A voice boomed behind us, the source being a large human figure covered in feathers common of a Native American attire. "Who are you?" I asked, a sense of calm seeing Alos hunkered behind the figure, safe and sound. "I gave you orders. Leave and do not speak of what you saw." The Indian went, now raising up his palm and opening a new portal from inside. Before stepping inside, he looked back at Alos. "Come," he bellowed. Alos followed his order, skipping to the portal entrance and before leaving looking back at me and Trey, giving a slight wave before jumping through with the Indian. That Indian could make portals, and he was from the smoke world? I asked Dip. Yes, Nick. He replied to me, now myself giving a glance at Will. What, am I missing something? Can you show him Will? I asked my brother, knowing that Dip had missed some things as he was gone. Will opened his palm, a spark coming through, then enlarging into an orb of white and sandy dust and smoke swirling, encapsulated in the sphere. Will then extended his arm, the orb shooting away from him and into the wall, creating a hole. You dumbass, Dip yelled at him in response. He stood up and walked over, pushing a hay bale over to the hole and covering it. It's nearly 40 degrees outside. We will freeze to death if you do that again. Will explained to him, just wanted to show you what I can do. Not great at controlling it yet. I can see that. Dip responded, myself zoning out now. I took a second, looking over at the hay on the ground from where I had slept the last 2 nights. I stared at the bump in the straw, knowing that is where the journal Alos had given me before he left. He told me these words, pay attention. Myself, even in more confusion, as I saw my brother on the next open page,